Okay, this afternoon, if your parents can do this, because it depends on what you've got in your house, by the way, I'm going to make something that people would think about when they think of England, and that's having a cream tea. That's like a very English thing to have. And that means you'd have a scone, or scone, depending on how you say it. So we're going to have a go at trying to make those this afternoon. You might not be able to if you haven't got all the ingredients, so don't moan at your mums or dads, because it took me ages to find flour. What I've done first is I've already washed my hands to make sure if you are going to cook, you wash your hands. And now I'm going to look at the recipe. I'll put a link to the recipe. It's Mary Berry, so hopefully it should be okay. Now, at the top of the recipe, look, it's got the ingredients of what I need. And it tells me how much of each ingredient I need to use. So it tells me I need some flour, look, baking powder, caster sugar, butter, eggs, milk. Let's say sultanas. I haven't got any of those, so I'm going to do plain scones. And then to serve it, jam and clotted cream. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the method. Now the method tells you what to do with the ingredients. And this is called a recipe. So the first thing that we have to do, it says preheat the oven. And it says I've got to do to 200 degrees. Oh my goodness. And that's so that the oven's nice and warm when we put the mixture in once we've finished. So can you see I've made the dial here point to 200, so I know that my oven will warm up to 200 degrees. Now what's really important, because we're touching the oven and ingredients and equipment, what must we make sure we're doing, who we're doing it with, has to be with an adult. Nobody do this by yourself. Now the adult will must probably do the oven bit for you, because it will get hot, won't it? And at school we would block you away from the oven part, wouldn't we, so you wouldn't get burnt. Right, shall we see what we have to do next? Now it says lightly grease 2 baking trays. Now I've got some baking trays out, you can hear those, there they are. Now we've got to grease them, do you know why? Not like we grease that to do with the car and use a bit of butter. It's because hopefully, let's hope, fingers crossed again, that the scones won't stick to the baking tray when we take them off. So I've just got some butter and this bit of kitchen roll, and then I'm going to rub it all in to grease the tray. So they're greased. It's a bit hard to see, but it is a bit shiny and a bit slimy there. Okay, we've done number 1 of the recipe, the method. On to number 2. Put the flour, baking powder and sugar in a large bowl. So that's 3 things into a bowl, and I need to see how much of each one to put in. So it says 450 grams of self-raising flour. Did you hear the word grams in that bit? So when we were measuring with a ruler, do you remember what we said we measured in when we did like the length? We had centimetres and metres. When we're doing cooking and we're weighing things, we weigh them in grams and kilograms. So what I need to do is use my scales to weigh out 450 grams of flour. So I've got digital scales here, and well, if I turn them on first, it should go 0. But what happens when I put the bowl on? It weighs the bowl, so I don't know how much flour I'd put in. So what I do is I press this button and it puts it back to 0 for me. So now when I tip the flour in, I need to watch this number here and wait for it to get to 450 grams, okay? I'm going to do that and then show you that. So here we go. I don't know if I'll be able to do it with one hand. I might stop halfway through. So in comes the flour, pouring it in. Oh, we're getting there. Right, I'm going to pause my video until I get it to 450 so I don't go too crazy. Right, there you go. You see it says on the scales there 450. Oh, went back to 4. Oh, it's having a little party, isn't it? 450 or 449 now. Naughty scales. So I've got that bit. So next I've got to do 2 level teaspoons of baking powder, and baking powder will hopefully help it rise. Now to level it out, because at the moment it's all heapy, look, it's too much on there. going to scrape my knife across it. So make sure you're doing all these things with an adult to make sure it's nice and level. Alright, can you see that's nice and flat? So that's called a level teaspoon. So I need 2 of those. So there's 1. And there's number 2. You might have these special spoon measurers at home as well. Alright, so that's what's the next thing. That was flour, baking powder, and can you remember what had to go next? Let's have a quick check. Caster sugar. So how much sugar do I need? It says, look here, 50 grams. So I've reset my scales to 0, and now I'm going to put in some sugar. Oh gosh, that was a big lump, wasn't it? Right, until we get to 50 grams. So we go slowly. Can you see the numbers getting higher? 33. Which numbers can you spot? Almost there. 43. Oh. 49. How many more to get to 50? Just 1 gram. Very slowly shakes them in. Slowly. Is it ever going to turn? Hooray! Oh, bottom's now 51. Oh no, 50 again. My scales are a bit crazy, aren't they? Right, the next part. Oh, it's only on number 2. Crikey. It says add the butter. Now, how much butter do I need? What's that big number there? 100. 100 grams of butter. It's got to be cut into pieces. So I'm going to do that separately on a different plate, not in the big bowl. So we're looking for 100. Oops. So it's on 0. I'll put some butter on. Let's see. Let's put a slab on. How much does that butter weigh? 64 grams. What, we need even more than that. God, that's lots of butter, isn't it? Alright, I'm going to try another slab. So we're not by 100 yet, are we? Get another bit. Alright, so I've added a bit more. How many egg? Oh, look, 96. I'm so close to 100. How many more grams do I need? 97, 98, 99, 100. 4 more grams. Now, do you think that's going to be a big blob of butter or just a small little bit? I'm going to try a small bit, see what happens. Here it comes. Right, let's throw this on there. What's it say now? 100, hooray! And it said on the recipe that they have to be like cut into small cubes. I'm just going to cut the butter up on the plate. So there it is, all cut up. And just like the chocolate, because the butter's been out of the fridge for a bit and it's next to the oven and it's getting hot in here, what do you think's happening to the butter? It's starting to melt. And you want it to be soft because you're going to see what we have to do with it next. Are you ready to get gooey? So, looking at the method, look, it says, now add the butter and rub in with your fingertips until the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs. So, got to put the butter in the bowl. Let's do that first. Oh, it's stuck. Let me just do it with a knife. Hang on. Right, there it is, all in there. And then you have to put your fingers in, and you need to start with your fingertips, rubbing all of the ingredients together. Alright, so you've got to get all that butter mixed in with all of that mixture. Alright, I'm going to carry on doing that, and hopefully the next time you see me in a second, it will be like breadcrumbs. Now hopefully that's right, I have no idea. Who knows, eh? Fingers crossed, puffins. So that's all the butter in there. My hands didn't get that messy actually. It's all the flour in there. Right, now we're on to number 3 of the method. And it says crack the eggs into a measuring jug, then add enough milk to make the total liquid up to 300 millilitres. Alright, so how many eggs did I need? What does it say at the top of the recipe and the ingredients? It says 2. So I'm going to crack 2 eggs into a jug. Okay, there's 2 eggs. Can you see? It's 2 egg yolks. And then I've got to fill it up to, remember what number it said? So 300 millilitres. So on the side of my measuring jug is a scale. And up the side, look, it goes up in hundreds. 100, 200, 300. And I've got to pour the milk until it gets to there. Now, when we did the solid kind of mixture, it was measured in grams, and when we do liquid, remember we talked about that with the Easterness, we measure in something called litres or millilitres. Alright, so grams, litres, and with the root it was centimetres. Right, I'm going to get some milk. Right, can I do it with two hands? Let's see. So, watch the milk go in. And then, can you see? Oh, it's not too fast. It's going. Tell me when it gets to 300. Shout when it gets to the line. Is it there yet? Almost. Almost. There it is. 300 millilitres. Right, I'm just gonna mix that up a minute, just so there's the milk in there. And then what you've got to do is you've got to pour this mixture into the bowl of flour and sugar and things. But it does say I might not need all of it, so I'm just going to put in about half first of all, and then I'll have some spare for if I need any more. Right, so here I go. I'm going to pour about half of it in to start with. It's about half, and then I'm going to give it a stir with my wooden spoon. So I'll do that for a bit and then show you what that looks like. Now it went all sloppy and like slurpy at the beginning, and now because the flour is mixing in, which is very dry and there's lots of it, that liquid is getting absorbed by the flour, so it's getting quite stiff. So I'm going to add more of the egg and milk, and I'm going to stir it a bit more. And what we want to do is get it into like a dough. Oh, look at that. It's really changing now, isn't it? It's all starting to stick together. It's got to be a sticky dough, so I might just put a teeny bit more in. I hope I don't put too much extra than I need. Hopefully it'll make the dough. Alright, there it is. Let's hope this is what it's supposed to look like. It's all sticky and dough-like. So I'm going to see what I have to do next. Alright, now it says, turn out onto a lightly floured work surface and knead. And I need it into a rectangle 2 centimetres thick. Oh gosh, I don't remember that bit. So we put the flour on the surface. That hopefully should stop it sticking so much to it. So I'm going to flour my surface first of all. So I'm just putting some flour out here, and then I'm going to blob my mixture onto here. There it is. Oh, it's really sticky. So I'm hoping it gets worse. So what I've got to do now is I've got to put my palm in there and then move it around a bit, called kneading, doing this kind of action like this to try and get the dough into a workable thing. So I'm going to do that for a bit because I need both hands, but I don't want to do too much because I don't want all the air to come out. Right, oh, it's so gooey. Right, there it is. It's very sticky. I think I might need to ring Mary Berry to tell me if this is right. Now I know how you guys feel when I give you a challenge. Not quite sure what it's going to be like at the end. I have no idea. Right, I've got to use my rolling pin, and I've got to roll out my dough now. Right, so now I've just put a bit of flour on the rolling pin to hopefully so the dough doesn't stick. I'm just going to roll it out into that kind of rectangle shape it asks for, with it being quite thick, with 2 centimetres thick. So I'll just do that. Alright, there we go. It's not very rectangular, but it is quite thick because it had to be up to 2 centimetres, didn't it? Right, what do we do next? So number 5 is cut into as many rounds as possible using the cutter and put on the baking tray, and then we've got to brush the tops with some milk or any of the egg left in the jug. Now I've realised I actually don't have any cutters, so I'm going to have to use like a glass, I think, to help me do this bit. So here goes nothing. I'm going to use my glass. You might have one of those nice cutters that has the like zigzaggy edge on the end. Now, does that work? Oh, it's stuck in there. Right, we'll have to do this with 2 hands. It kind of worked. I just had to use a knife around the edge of my glass. So if you cut out all your scone shapes now and then stick them on your baking tray. Right, there we go. That's my mini one there with the mixture left over. But but they don't look too bad. Took a while with the glass though, so yours must probably look a bit neater than mine and my blobs. Did yours make a funny noise when you put the cutter in? Mine kept making a noise. What do you think that was? Well, I hope they weren't blowing off. No, I think it's, you could hear the air coming out of the mixture. And do you remember we put in, was it baking powder? And that's in there to design to get all that air so that your scone should hopefully rise. Right, let's see what happens next. All right, here we go. Oh, I've got to do some milk or egg from the jug on the top. I almost forgot that bit. And once we've done that, then I've got to bake them for 12 to 15 minutes in the oven, and they hopefully should go golden brown. Here we go. So there's that mixture. I'm just going to paint now the tops of my scones. I think, although I might be wrong, this might help turn them brown. I think that's what it's for. So I'm just going to paste all this eggy, milky stuff on the top of my scones. Right, there they are, and it's time to put them in the oven. So they're in there now. Right, I'm going to shut the door, keep the heat in. Remember, make sure you get a parent to do that bit. Now I've got to set the timer, use the iPad. 12 minutes, and then I'll check to see if they're golden brown. Fingers crossed. So they're in the oven. I'm going to put this video up now, and then when it's story time, just because it's getting a bit late, being a Mary Berry took me about an hour, then I'll show you what they look like in story time.